Welcome to Queernecks, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode. So the Kentucky gays have a theory that is looking like it might be correct, that Trixie Mattel is dating somebody from
Kentucky or England?
Yeah, Kentucky.
Gotcha.
So she has always had a thing for Kentucky. She always performs there. She's always like randomly there. And she mentions this on the podcast a lot. And then like we'll see her with t-shirts or hats or things that are from local businesses on her main channel where she does makeup tutorials and stuff, which I watch for some reason. I don't know. I just like that people can do that, you know?
Yeah.
So we just started seeing more and more, and my friends message me and they're like, "Are you seeing this?" And it's becoming, there's a lot of evidence now. Anyway, on their most recent episode, she said that she was going to go to the chicken festival. And I was like, why would you tell us that? The chicken festival is about to be slamming this year. It's about to be gay as hell.
Today is 1 month till my birthday.
That's right. You have the same birthday as my friend Elise, I think. Yeah.
So I have this tradition with my mom. When I was 15, turning 16, we were on our way to Myrtle Beach one summer. And it was 1 month till I turned 16. And I walked around the hotel room going, 1 month till my birthday, 1 month till my birthday. And that just became a thing for the next 30, 40 years. 30 years it's been since 16, and I always called mom and I said that. So that's one of the things I miss about her is the 1 month till my birthday.
Now you can sing it to us.
Yeah. Don't look at Rue's hair. Rue needs a haircut, but it's really, she has an appointment the 11th. It's really hard to get in here. Guess how much it cost at the lowest cost groomer we could find, just for a regular, not even a nail trim, just a groom.
$85.
$65, which I still think is way too much. There was another one that was $100 with not a nail trim. It was like, Jesus. Yeah. And she's going to need this like every 8 weeks. Like, Shanna's going to need to learn how to be a dog groomer. Add that to her list of skills.
I know people who do it.
Yeah, she used to groom our poodles. So, and Wenda, God love her, never went to a groomer in her life because I was afraid that she would just be so scared because she was a shy little girl and I didn't want to be apart from her. So
that's why I learned to cut my own hair.
I learned about my own hair. I don't play with my hair. I go to a girl who's excellent. She charges me $40 and I give her an $8 tip every 5 weeks and it works out. I like my hair in pictures and so it works out.
It definitely was a process. It took me years to learn how to produce something that looks like a real haircut. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of practice to learn how to fade, especially because I was learning before you could really Google things. And I had to learn just from watching people, like being around people who knew how to do it and just practicing over and over. Yeah. Once the internet and especially YouTube came along, I kind of refined my art, but I could still only give myself like maybe 3 different haircuts. That's it.
Yeah. I go in, she's like, "What do you want to do your hair?" I'm like, "Whatever you want to do with it, fuck it up." And she does what she wants to do with it.
That's fun.
It's always very short. Yeah. And she is gorgeous. The girl that does my hair, she is absolutely, and queer. She was married to a woman when we started going to her. She's disappointed in herself, but she's dating a man right now. So.
Why she don't? I mean, hopefully she's joking when she says so.
Yeah. So.
Biphobia is too real, so like it's easy to think somebody's serious about that.
No, she was teasing. She had a nose job not too long ago. She's one of those people that tells everybody everything about it. She's like an open book. I went in and I was getting my hair cut like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. And she was like, "So I had an abortion yesterday." And I was like, "Okay, let's talk about that."
All right. How was that for you?
Yeah.
What kind did she have?
She took a pill, as far as I know. The abortion pill. That's 90% of abortions at this point are done by the pill.
Yeah. I went and met up with some of the faculty from my department yesterday.
Nice.
And we got lunch.
How was that?
They're really sweet people, and they're really fun and excited. It's cool to be able to talk about pedagogy and research and stuff like that. But there was a moment where like me and this one woman started talking about like our battle scars, basically, because she's having some health issues too. And I was like, this is my first experience of this here, like this bonding experience where you talk about what part of you's falling apart. Like that felt very like nostalgic to me. And I could tell that the other folks thought it was kind of odd. So we stopped, but it was, nobody was upset, but I was like, well, whatever. Well, so the Wheel of What Have You told us it wasn't very specific. It said Anecdote. And when I put that on there, I had this grand idea that I was going to create a follow-up that would give us a little more guidance, and I just never did. So now we're stuck with the consequences of my actions. We talked a little bit off air about it, but like I found the process a bit odd, considering one, it's over a year now of us telling every damn thing we can think of about ourselves and our past. Not that it's ever possible to run out of stories, but
isn't it though?
No.
I feel like I
think about like we would have to sit here and relive 44 years at least.
Yeah.
Storytelling is an art for a reason, because understanding what is interesting to people about what feels quotidian to you, that's the craft of storytelling. And so we've told plenty of stories that to us is just sort of like, well, that was a Tuesday. And then it sounds batshit to somebody who's not from, and the same would go for, us hearing stories about other folks' experiences. So once I got over that, I started to like come up with all kinds of ideas. And then it became like, how do I trim this down? It went from like, I'm out of stories. There's nothing interesting about me. There's nothing left to tell, to like flooding my mind with some legitimately crazy shit. So then it was like, what is appropriate to tell?
Right. I have a story that I want to tell, but I'm afraid that it will tarnish the reputation of the main person in the story. But on the other hand, they have passed away at this point, and I think that they would be amused that this story came out. So I have decided I think I am going to tell that story. So
we would love to hear it.
Can we do things a little bit in reverse order this week and maybe do the noun first? That way, we can set some groundwork for it.
That's a great idea. Yes, please give us a noun of Appalachian interest.
All right, guys. This week's noun of Appalachian interest is one that is particularly personal to me and to the Scioto County area, the Southern Ohio area. This week's noun of Appalachian interest is Emily Cobb Thomas. Who, you say? Emily was a good friend of mine. She was my dad's boss for a long time. And as you'll hear in a few minutes, she was an icon of anti-racist work in the Southern Ohio area and someone that I looked up to dearly. Emily passed away on July 24th at the age of 82, and I have been trying to figure out how to fit more than 25 years of friendships into just a few minutes. I'm not sure that's possible, but she deserves for me to try. I met Emily in 1998, and somewhere along the way, she stopped being only my friend and became family. We shared good times and difficult times. We laughed more than I could ever count, and we spent more than 20 years together calling bingo. We were the two callers side by side, watching cards and keeping the game moving. Bingo may not sound like the foundation for a lifelong friendship, but then again, you probably never worked bingo with Emily. She was one of the funniest people I have ever known. She was also one of the kindest people that I knew. Emily knew how to make people feel seen, and she understood how hard I was working when other people did not always understand it. She often told me that she was proud of me, and I hope she knew how much I carried those words with me, because hearing them from her mattered more than I can explain. Emily spent her life working for the people of Portsmouth and Scioto County. She began working for the Community Action Organization in 1966 and stayed for 43 years, eventually becoming the Director of Social Services. She helped provide meals for older people, worked to improve housing in the area, and created opportunities for people who had been denied them. Emily fought against discrimination in housing and employment. She helped reorganize the local NAACP chapter and later served as its president. When she saw that minority applicants were being left out of jobs at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility, she helped create a program to recruit and prepare them for the hiring process. She spent her career opening doors and then holding those doors open so other people could walk through them. That work tells you a great deal about Emily, but it does not tell you everything. An obituary can list the board someone served on or the positions they held, but it cannot hold every laugh. It cannot explain the look someone gave you across the bingo hall when both of you knew exactly what the other was thinking. It cannot capture all of the conversations, the private jokes, and the years of knowing that someone is in your corner. I am proud of everything Emily accomplished, but more than that, I am proud to call her my friend. I am grateful for every year we had together, and I am grateful for every laugh and every time she reminded me that she believed in me. Emily spent her life helping people feel that they belonged and that they deserved a chance, and she did the same thing in friendship. She made room for people, and she made room for me. I will miss her more than I will say, but I will always be thankful that Emily Cobb Thomas became part of my family. Farewell, my friend. I love you.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that.
She was wonderful.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you need to write a full article about all of the work she did. I would love to hear more about that.
She did a lot of good around the area. She married a black man in the 1960s. Emily was white, and she married a black man in the 1960s and had 3 kids by him, which in Southern Ohio in the 1960s you just didn't do. So she was an early pioneer of anti-racist work, just because of the nature of who she married and who her kids were and things like that. And she was well enmeshed in the black community. Everybody knew Miss Emily, but she was also known in other parts because she was over the heap that helped people get the gas and the electricity for the winters. She oversaw a program where I worked there. My first summer out of college, I worked there supervising. They hire kids we have like 13 school districts in the county, and they hire the kids that go there, like 5 or 6 of them, to help paint lockers or paint rooms or clean floors or whatever. And there's a liaison from Community Action that goes out and takes out the paychecks and checks on them and does all that kind of stuff. I worked for that program before I even knew her. That was in 1997, so that was even before I knew her. She oversaw my sister when she was my sister is a medical lab technologist. She had to wear scrubs, and Community Action helped her get her scrubs and her books. She did Meals on Wheels. She did the bingo. That's how we ended up. The bingo that my dad ran was for Community Action. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Emily, the bingo caller, or Emily was the liaison between Community Action and the bingo. She helped get it all set up, and she was there. That's why she was the other caller. She was my dad's boss. So she did a lot, and I'm very proud to have known her.
Yeah.
And she had a master's degree, and she's the only person I knew in my life from down there that had a master's degree. And so I felt like honestly, I'm not trying to be funny there. Like, that's just the way it was. And education isn't such a thing down there. People don't,
Right.
it's not a goal. And she understood what I was doing. And she was big on Portsmouth history. And I remember one afternoon, my master's thesis was about the lost Black history of Scioto County. And so I had questions, and she lived a lot of it. So I called and asked her. She ended up in my thesis. But I remember I was in the Poly Ice parking lot in BG, and I sat there for like 2 hours, and we just talked about Portsmouth history and the Black history in the area and all that kind of stuff. And it was one of the most wonderful conversations that I had about home that wasn't about, poverty or anything like that. It was about my research. It was great.
Being able to connect to knowledge making about your hometown, that would be really cool. In Jellicoe, I had never met anybody that had even gone to college that wasn't a cousin of mine. I had older cousins that went to college.
Yeah. There were some people in my extended family that had gone to school, that gone to college. My dad's older brother, Mark's older brother, went to college. He went on the GI Bill, and he became a teacher and then a principal at the local school. I never had a conversation with that man in my whole life, so I never knew him. My dad and his brother didn't get along, but there was education in that side of the family.
Yeah. Well, and there's a difference between the experience of going to college and coming back.
Right.
Like if somebody who's just a year or two older than you goes to college, they're not going to be able to give you the secrets of success.
Yeah, no, I was the first one to go to college. I was the first one to live in the dorms. I was the first one to move away from home. I was the first one to do all of those things, you know? And I was the
Yeah.
youngest in my family. Everybody dropped out until it got to me. So my mom, in my mom's true fashion, when she was a sophomore in high school, she got into a fight over a boy, and she would tell you all about the fight. She was so proud of it. But she got suspended, and she just never went back to school afterwards. That's how she quit school.
What was it she said? You told me this story once. She said something about how she got her ass kicked or something.
No, she kicked the ass of the woman. She was wearing she got her boyfriend's ring. It was like a big class
That's what
ring.
it was. She had brass nuts, basically.
Yeah, she got the girl by the hair, and she said, "I felt bad punching her, but I just kept punching her."
It's hard to stop once you're in motion. That is assault with a deadly weapon, by the way.
Yeah. It was the 60s. It was a different time.
The number of people from back home who should be in prison.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to take a little break or do you want to tell us your story about Emily?
Okay, yes. So I'll go ahead and tell you my story because it's a pretty good one. So now you have been introduced to Emily. So now I would like to tell you a story that I've never told publicly before. All right, so in what could not have been Emily's idea, in my opinion, so to set the stage for the story, Larry the Cable Guy came to Charleston, West Virginia. Oh, it was before we left, so it would have been like 2003, 2004, somewhere in that area. No, it would have been 2005, 2006, somewhere in that time frame. And so we had a caravan. There were 3 cars of us going. One car had my mom and dad, Emily, and her husband, Bruce. One car had my sister and her husband, and then their cop friend and his wife. And then the middle car was me and Shanna, right? So I get it. And so this was before cell phones were really a big thing, but they had a car phone. So my mom never asked me for weed, never once in my life until this day. And I get a phone call. My mom's like, "You got any weed?" And I was like, yeah.
Is this a trick question?
So she was like, "Well, roll us one up and we'll meet you we were going to meet they were all coming from Portsmouth and I was already in Huntington, which is on the way to Charleston. So we were going to meet at the rest stop and form a caravan and go on from there." And she was like, "Bring it to the rest stop." And I was like, "All right." So I rolled him a joint and I gave it to him. And between the rest stop where we were by the dog track and the Charleston Civic Center, they Cheech and Chonged this thing. Mom, Emily, Bruce, and Mark.
How far is that?
Half hour, maybe, right?
Oh, just the right amount of time.
Yeah, when they opened the door, the smoke came rolling out, right? It was a total Cheech and Chong moment. And so we parked in the wrong space originally. And you have to remember, Bruce was probably the only black man in all of the thing. Larry the Cable Guy told a joke about a shadow being there, and like everybody looked at Bruce because it was a black joke. So we get there and we're trying to figure out where to go, and they're all high, and Emily's standing by a fountain. I'm like, "You all right, Emily?" And she says, "Well, those are the prettiest fucking tulips I've ever seen."
Were they at least actually tulips?
They were. I tried to send tulips to her funeral, but they were out of season, so I couldn't. I sent roses instead. But that's the funniest thing she ever said to me. "Those are the prettiest fucking tulips I've ever seen."
It's sort of like in her head, you had said, "Those are some ugly ass tulips." How dare you? They're beautiful.
We had a good time at the show. We had a whole row of our little gang, but we literally had a police officer in our cart, and that was in our caravan, and that was before weed was legal.
Did he know?
No, I don't think he did. He was not cool at all.
Oh, yeah.
They were all, yeah. His name was Jerry.
He just thought she got stir crazy in the car.
Well, Emily was always a little bit funny. That's one of the reasons we got along so well, because she was real funny. We would laugh and joke. One time, I lost a bunch of weight one summer. My best friend and I started walking like 3.5 miles a day. And if you walk 3.5 miles a day every day for a summer, you'll lose some weight. And so I had a lot of energy to burn because I'm ADHD and I was very unmedicated back then. And when you're on a large exercise regimen, you get a lot of energy, right? So I was standing at the bingo and she was sitting on the caller stand. She was actually calling and I was running tips. So I was going back and forth behind the desk, and there was like a a bar that you like the you stood behind it and then the customer stood on the other side of it. And there was a big whiteboard where when you called a tip, you'd write down the number and the winning number. That way, if somebody had gone out to smoke, they could come check their numbers or whatever. And so I'm standing there and I'm standing by the whiteboard and I said, "Hey, Emily, look what I can do." And I jumped up and I tried to do an entire twist in one jump. And I fell because I'm not graceful whatsoever. And I fell directly into the whiteboard and my face slid down the whiteboard and made that sound. And she almost could not continue calling bingo because she was laughing so hard.
That's personal. like the way that played out, like, first of all, you got humbled by your surroundings trying to attempt something you weren't capable of to begin with, but you called attention to yourself first. Couldn't have gone worse.
For years, I would just be like, "Hey, Emily, look what I can do."
Was that a Mad TV reference?
Yes, it was.
Stewart.
We had a lot of fun, me and Em. She was there with my brother when he caused all his madness and all his nonsense because she was married to an alcoholic and she knew Bruce was an alcoholic. So she knew what that was like. And we commiserated on that. And she got to know my family very well. So, we commiserated on that. And she was just a major part of my life.
Sounds like she was incredible to know. And just based on things you've said, she put a lot into the world and probably got a lot out of it in return.
Yeah. Yep. She sure did.
I think that's the best thing to hope for somebody.
When her best friend died, her best friend gave her house. That's how close she was. Well,
hopefully that made her life easier after that point too.
She had lived in an apartment for 30 years, the same apartment. And when she got the house, they moved into the house and she was finally out. She could have moved out of that apartment long before, but she had a place to go, I guess, in the real nice little section of town. So she moved there. We also, I can put the picture in the newsletter this week, but it would have been 2007 when my dog turned 3 years old. And at 3 times 7, it's 21. So it was 21st birthday. And I knew people that had 3 other poodles. So we had a poodle party and there were 5 poodles in attendance. And 2 of them were Emily's. And we always bonded over having poodles because, once you have a poodle, you rarely go back. No, there were 6 poodles. There was my 2 and then Bug, Coda's brother, or his daddy and the little dog, and then Rosie and Boston. And she made a joke because Boston was black and the rest of them were white. And she was like, "He's the only little black guy over there." But if you guys want, I have pictures of the poodle party that turned out very good. So I will post those if anybody is interested. That'll be in the newsletter.
Please do. Thanks for telling us about Emily.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Hope everybody is lucky enough to have an Emily in their life.
Yeah, for sure.
But we know not everyone is, and so if that's you, you're our friends.
I need lots of friends.
You were worried about telling that because you thought, what about her memory? What about her reputation among people in Scioto County? And for me, I'm like, that's a relatively tame story. Not that I don't see your perspective, but that's because of the absolute debauched tale I'm about to tell.
Well, it's the only time I ever knew that she did she didn't even drink. So it's the only time I knew of her having any kind of substance fun whatsoever in the 30 years that I knew her. So, and I think even Martha Stewart said, "Of course I know how to roll a joint," when you're of a time and, she came through the 60s and, she probably has smoked a joint or 2 in her life.
I think most healthy people have, most well-adjusted people know.
And she was retired by the time she did that. So,
yeah. Well, so my process for choosing story was, have you ever done actual storytelling, the performance where you get up on stage and there's a mic? And we have a friend from grad school who is a professional storyteller, Chenga. Yeah. She got a degree in it from ETSU, East Tennessee State University. She got her master's in it. She came and did her PhD in cultural studies approaches to tabletop gaming and storytelling. She's got a couple books. Awesome writer and really just smart and funny person. She's who I learned that storytelling was a an actual performance art. And it wasn't a huge shock, but it was just sort of like that kind of thing hadn't entered my mind.
Yeah. I took her profile picture and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, it's a good one. When I went back to work at EKU, I've met a faculty member who just happened to be, like, I met him because he was an out gay man, and so he was helping me with programs and things. And I mentioned storytelling or something. He's like, "Wait, you know about storytelling?" And I was like, "Oh, just through a friend." And he was like, "I just started learning about it. I started doing some like classes and stuff." And he created a program. It was just a monthly program. He got a micro grant to buy the kids pizza. We met at Apollo Pizza in Richmond, I think maybe the third Tuesday of every month. And it was like an open mic, but it was a focus on storytelling. I went there one night for a theme or something, and I told this story about the day I learned that I had gained male privilege. And it's a good story, but it's not funny at all. In fact, it's actually kind of disturbing and upsetting. So I thought about that, but I was like, maybe another time. That's maybe when it's relevant to something and I can find a way to make it entertaining instead of just illuminating. It was the kind of learning that like is necessary for me, and I wish cis men could go through it because they don't. It's only trans men who suddenly one day at the age of 36 have male privilege. So there's something to be learned from it, but I decided instead to tell the story of the night I quit mushrooms.
You know, those are legal in Michigan now.
That doesn't surprise me.
You
like
can,
Michigan,
not that I know from experience, you can go to this like little thrift shop and they have just type after type after type after type, and will sell you like an ounce of this and an ounce of that. Oh, there's like, you go on their website and they have like 50 different varieties, and this one is good for creativity and this one is good. It's like the sativa indica bullshit.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah,
I agree completely. Yeah.
I went through a phase in my undergrad. There was a couple of years there where I had a core group of friends and we were really close and we partied a lot, and it was a lot of psychedelics. So I did a lot. This could be a bad idea. I did a lot of acid and a little bit of shrooms. I never loved shrooms. I didn't have a great time, but it was like easier to get, right? Because people could grow them. You could order those kits online and just grow your own shrooms. So I wound up doing them a couple of times. But this one trip, which actually may have only been like my second or third one, I did not make it very far into doing shrooms before I had had enough. But this kind of came out of that time when I was hanging out with my friend Skip pretty much constantly. His full government nickname was Skippy, but I called him Skip. But I had a rough roommate situation. This girl was like weird and inconsiderate. She was always having strange sex with people who there's just no regard at all for the fact that this was an 8x10 room. And so my friend Skip, he lived down on the 4th floor of Clay Hall, which was the party floor, and his roommate dropped out. So I just started staying in his room for the rest of that school year. So we were together constantly. And this also kind of coincides with the beginning of the end, you know, of that magical period where everything is beautiful. Everybody gets along. You have a million friends and there's a ton of interesting things to do. And then people start falling out, or couples that have been together start to break up. And it's just, I don't know if it's still a moment for college kids, but that happened to everybody who went to college at some point, you know, in the 2000s, in the 90s and 2000s. So that happened. A core couple broke up, and the guy who lost, you know how somebody always loses the breakup. The guy who lost the breakup needed help moving, and nobody would help him. So me and Skip decided to help him. He had to move back to Greensburg, Kentucky, which is the only thing I know about. It's the place that Dumas Walker's is. It's not called Dumas Walker's anymore, but yeah, I learned that on that trip.
Let's all go
to Dumas Walker. Yeah. And we ate there. That was cool. But this guy was a mess. So he was doing pills the whole time. So we got to his mom's house, and she also is just a freak. And we had these two people with us who we don't know what they were doing there. We found out later that it's because Skip had a crush on Kim, so that's why Kim was there. And Kim's friend Eugene had a crush on me, so that's why they were there. And so, because I was like, what are y'all doing here? It was a weird night already. So Joey is in the laundry room spelling out his ex's name in Xanax powder and then snorting all the lines. And so Skip is babysitting him. And then Kim and Eugene have taken mushrooms for whatever reason. They took them before we left. They were tripping when we got there. And so they're having a terrible time. And I'm babysitting them. So we didn't sleep at all that night. Long story short on that. We both stayed sober, me and Skip did, but we were awake for 24 hours and then had to drive back home. Instead of going to bed like we should have, we went to a barn party that night at some friends' farmhouse. And we were like frazzled, right? It had not been a good night. It was difficult. And so our friend, this guy, we called him Bob the Tomato, which I think is a VeggieTales reference. He sold us these mushrooms. And you know how dealers have always got their spiel, right? Like, these are six times stronger than the average. You know, he said that. He was like, these are 6 times stronger than regular shrooms. And I was like, who counted? Did you count? What makes you say that? Okay, whatever. So we bought them, and this was probably like 8 p.m. And I don't like the taste of shrooms. I can't even do the peanut butter sandwich method, and they hurt my stomach. And so I used to make tea out of them, which I may have also been part of this issue, may have also caused what happened. So I made us some tea, and we split this 1/8 of shrooms. It wasn't long at all before both of us were miserable. I lost my mind, you know. I was like, where am I? How did I get here? How long have I been here? And then I look over, and I don't know how he got roped into this, but he was upside down on the couch with his head hanging down, like where your calves touch it. He had a towel around the top of his head and some googly eyes on his chin. And so his beard was like the hair, and it actually broke me. And I was like, wait, what is going on? My mind broke. Next thing I know, my friend Leah is poking me, and I was curled up under a bush outside. And I was like, I really want to go somewhere. I want to leave. I want to go back to the dorm. And we were like 10 miles away. So she was like, well, I'll try to find somebody sober, which at that point, it's on the honor system if somebody tells you they're sober. But people's faces were blurred. You know, for like in an Aphex Twin video or a Tool video, they'll put that blur effect on the person's face. That's what people looked like. And I was like, I have to get out of here. This is awful. And Skip also, he finally... And I asked him, I was like, what are you doing? He goes, I don't know. They talked me into it. And it made me worse, like being upside down. He was like, I feel awful and I'm terrified. And I had started to have trouble. Like, I was hyperventilating. My chest felt tight. And I said, I'm trying to find a way to get us out of here. I was like, just stay close. And so looking out from the outside, we had to look insane because we were arm in arm, like linked elbows, and we would only go places together because it was like, I felt like I was going to float away. And so people knew we weren't having a good time. And so Leah comes back with this guy named Lucas, who was from Williamsburg, actually. And he was like, yeah, I'll take you home. I'm sober. I was like, okay. And we get into his truck. I think it was a Ford Ranger. So it's 3 of us sitting together in the front seat. And he, in my memory now, which I don't know if I can trust, was driving like an asshole. He was riding up on the curb. He was like intentionally running stop signs. He was like swerving really big. And I was just like, I couldn't tolerate it anymore. And I opened the door to jump out. And I think we were on like Richmond Road at this point. So he would have been going like 50 or 60 miles an hour. And Skip was like, shit. And he grabbed me and like took the seatbelt and wrapped it around my neck to keep me inside. And I closed the door again. And I remember him like turning to Lucas and going like, whatever it is you think you're doing, it is not funny. You have to stop. And so we made it back to Clay Hall. To this day, I don't know if Lucas was fucking with us on purpose. He might have just been drunk and been lying about being sober. Or maybe I imagined it. And poor Lucas is driving a raving lunatic home who just tried to jump out of his truck. But we get back to Clay Hall, and I was like, okay, it's over. We can relax. So we go up to Skip's room, put his tapestries over all the windows, I think we turned on Janis Joplin, and my friend Josh happened to call, and he was like, what are y'all doing? Are you at the party? And I was like, we left. It's awful. We're having a horrible time. And he was like, well, I'm still on campus. Let me come over and smoke you out. Like, oh, that's supposed to calm you down, I guess.
Right.
It works on acid. I don't think it works on shrooms. I think anybody who says it works on shrooms is full of shit, because it's an additional psychotropic. It did actually change my mood, so maybe it did calm me down. I became no less sober. But he came over and he was like trying to make us laugh. Also, he's just a really good guy. I'm still friends with him. And I was like really having trouble breathing, though. My lungs were like, it was like something was sitting on me. I found out later that if you have asthma, you absolutely should not take mushrooms. And I was terrifying them because I was like, hey guys, don't let me stop breathing. And Skip was like, why would you do that? What makes you think you're going to stop breathing? What do you mean? And I was like, just in case, like, what would we do about it? How would we accomplish that? Please be more specific. What's going on? And so then I was like, okay, I've got to go to the bathroom. I'm feeling calmer. I'll be okay. I can go down there by myself. So I did. I walked down, and this was Clay had just like the communal bathrooms, on the hall. And I didn't want to go up to any of the girls. I was afraid basically that I left that plane of existence, I would become unstable again. So I just went into the boys' bathroom. It was a weekend. I figured nobody was there. I walked inside, and you know how like that disturbing, really pale blue tile that's along the walls of those kinds of bathrooms? Somebody had taken one of those mega Sharpies and scrawled unhinged song lyrics all over the walls. And so I walked in and I was like, is this real? If it's real, that's worse. Like, what is this? Why is this here? And so I got trapped trying to read those. And I eventually just lost my mind again and ran down the hallway, like screaming for Skip and Josh. And I was like, I don't know why, but I need to know whether it's real or not. And so they both went in and they're like, no, it's really there. And I don't know why. Like, it had never been there before. We don't know what happened. And I was like, I will never feel this way again. I will guarantee you that. And I never did. That was the last time I did mushrooms. The rest of the night was spent basically gasping for air and trying to stay calm.
I'm glad you survived, my friend.
Don't do shrooms.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Don't do shrooms. Nothing good comes from it.
People are always like, but it's natural. Arsenic's natural, right? Nature wants to kill you.
Exactly. Tornadoes are natural.
The ocean's natural. I'm not jumping in it either. Lysergic acid is water soluble and was formulated in a lab, which also doesn't guarantee that it's safer, but it means it's been studied, and it means it's always the same fucking thing, and it means it doesn't have bacteria growing on it. Do you know what would happen to me right now, though, if I just suddenly decided to get back into psychedelics?
I'm afraid to ask. What would happen?
Well, I don't know either, but it wouldn't be good. Because now, being just dead sober, I can't even, dependably smoke weed. It's really a 50-50, maybe even an 80-20, that I'm going to just freak out and have a panic attack and need to be taken to a quiet room.
Oh, that's sad.
I think I turned the self-medication corner on that somehow. Maybe it was all the acid. They say that stuff can change your brain. I know my pattern recognition changed from taking acid.
Yeah.
I assume it's taking acid. Maybe it was just my frontal lobe finally doing whatever it does, maturing. So
solidifying.
That's when I started being able to see 4-leaf clovers whenever I wanted.
That's awesome.
Was around that time. And I didn't know. I don't know. I don't remember when it started. I just remembered all of a sudden, I could look at any clover patch and find a 4-leaf clover, and I can still do it. So whatever it was is permanent. Awesome. Kind of takes the magic out of it. Knowing that they're literally everywhere. I don't know. I mean, it still doesn't mean that you can see them all. And most people can't see them.
I can cross one eye at a time.
You showed me that one day, and it is...
Yeah.
Can you see your nose all the time? Do you see your nose?
I think everybody does, but you learn to ignore it.
Oh, no, I'm looking at mine all the time. Not only am I looking at it, I'm looking at 4 of it, because both eyes sees one side, and your brain also knows what each eye is seeing. So my brain is seeing that one eye is seeing what the other eye sees, if that makes sense.
I have an extremely small nose, so maybe that's why I don't see it. When I went in to get fitted for a CPAP machine, they had to give me an extra small mask. It's the only thing I've ever had extra small in my life. But apparently my nose is extra small. When you look at it, there's just not a lot to it.
It's a button nose.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was small before I transitioned. It's some of the tissue you grow from testosterone.
Gotcha. I got a little one. My sister's is more upturned than mine. I'm glad mine didn't go upturned. I'm the prettier sister.
Ooh, shots fired.
Yeah. She does the more girly stuff and dolls herself up and does all that stuff. So technically she would be the fancier one. But when it comes right down to it, I'm prettier than she is.
Take that.
Especially because of my soul versus her ugly ass soul. That stuff shines through.
Oh, it definitely can. I mean, I'm sure that there are pretty people who are also evil husks, but I think a person, like, as you begin to learn more about them, they can't hide it for, like, it's there, you know. I think it's part of, like, our survival instincts is to be able to kind of detect whether someone is trustworthy or not.
Well, yeah, I think so.
I saw one of those. I think they were a psychologist. I don't think it was like one of those behavioral analysis people. That's a different thing. They're talking about how psychopaths, one of the things that about the way they look, or they often look, I'm sure it isn't total, that sets us on edge is their eyes, because their facial affect doesn't work the way a person who is in touch with their feelings works. So, like, we emote based on what we're feeling. A psychopath doesn't have feelings. And if they do, don't quote me on that. That's what I read. I'm not a psychologist, but, like, even if they do, they're not, their feelings aren't related to what the person they're communicating with is experiencing. So they're just taking their best guess at emoting. And so a lot of times what happens is they wind up making their eyes really big and wide like this. That makes my eyes feel really dry.
Yeah. Shanna had a friend that she made in group therapy. So red flag number 1, she made the friend in group therapy.
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, this lady's name was Penny, and she was bonkers. She and Shanna, like, hung out quite a bit, and I think the lady, like, was crushing on her or something, because she was always like, well, invite Becky over to come over. And the first time I went over, like 5 minutes after I got there, she was like, well, I'm leaving, and, like, walked out of the house and went to make moon water or some crazy bullshit. She really didn't like me. But in all of her pictures, her eyes are real big like that. She was crazy.
I didn't fact check it because I'm not able to. I don't have the expertise. But I mean, it would make sense that a person would struggle to emote in a relatable way if they lived with psychopathy or something like that, some sort of emotional disturbance.
I think my dad was a sociopath, and I think my sister takes after him. I don't think she has a lot of emotions about things, except for jealousy and anger and things like that. I think that's why she never liked me. I think she thought I had a perfect relationship with my mom, and who has a perfect relationship with their mom? You know what I mean? Like, everybody has some kind of issue, and my mom and I had our problems for sure.
You communicated, though.
Yeah. And I treated mom as human, as fallible, as, oh, that's okay. You know, she wasn't perfect either. And that's okay. And my sister, I get heated when I start thinking about her. So
you're going to make an appearance. You don't do a lot of podcasting.
Hello, kitty, 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 with your face so white and black.
He's my 14-year-old distinguished gentleman. You're going to have to decide where you're going to be, though. He still wants to climb on stuff, but he can't get himself down because he's got arthritis.
Yeah. Pete is 13, and she's starting to be bitey about if you touch her and on her feet or stuff like that. So,
yeah, he doesn't love it. And I got him some stairs, and he won't use them because he's extremely stubborn. Maybe the most stubborn cat I've ever met. Definitely the most stubborn one I've ever owned. Well, thanks for listening to our stories, everybody. I'm not even sure if that's what I meant by anecdote when I put that on there at the time, but works for me.
Works for me.
Well, maybe let's hear from this week's sponsor. This week's episode of Queernecks is brought to you by Local Honey. That's the proper noun, local honey, not just honey. Not local honey, but local honey. The distinction between it and any old nationally distributed honey matters to the people who sell it, and it should matter to you. Here's the lore as it was given to me by a woman named Deb in a parking lot in 1997. You eat a spoonful of honey made by bees within a 15-mile radius of your house. Those bees have been rolling around in the exact pollen that's currently murdering you. You ingest a small amount of your enemy and take away its power. Your body learns and grows stronger with each dose, and by August, you can walk through a field of goldenrod like Jesus on the water. Deb said all this seated behind her card table with a fly swat and a level of eye contact I have not encountered since, so naturally I believed her. Treating seasonal allergies is only the beginning of the wonders local honey can perform, however. Once you're eating it regularly, apparently it starts connecting to your natural environment, which in my case is a coal mining town with 2 spotlights. I felt connected to it, genuinely 0 stars. You can keep it. Once you're connected to the place, though, I guess it starts repairing you, because the next list of benefits is straight medical pseudoscience. For instance, if you have a bad back, rub the honey directly onto the skin, which nobody has ever done. You can't convince me they have, including the people recommending it. Or how a spoonful before bed is supposed to put you to sleep, which my grandmother treated as settled science. She also took one before she drove for alertness, though, which is on brand for her contradictory nature of beliefs. It is allegedly good for your skin if you apply it directly, which some people do, mostly in winter, at night, alone, which is fine, in fact, preferable. Apparently, it works on a cough about as well as the stuff in the orange bottle, which is either a strong endorsement for local honey or a weak endorsement for the stuff in the orange bottle. It's also said to be a diabetic aid, which I pass along without comment because I genuinely cannot tell if that's a dare. Deb told me very casually, like she was mentioning the weather, that it fixes a marriage that's gone quiet. I don't know what that means. Like, not a bad marriage. You still need either the sheriff or a shovel for that one. Just a quiet one. You put a jar between you at dinner, and you eat off the same spoon, and eventually one of you says something. I neither asked her to nor hoped she would elaborate. I'm aware none of this holds up in court. I'm only passing along what I was told by people who were told it by people who are dead and can't be cross-examined. What's important is the idea of the lore and not whether it actually works. So that's local honey, available in any Peddler's Mall parking lot from a woman at a card table.
That's awesome. I love honey. It's my favorite dipping sauce for chicken nuggets.
What?
Yeah.
You dip
if you get chicken nuggets and honey and the French fries, it's delicious. If you get chicken nuggets at McDonald's, they have honey as a dipping sauce.
Yeah, I worked at McDonald's and I still wouldn't do that, but it does. I think I do remember that that's an option.
It's the salty and sweet, really good. The savory and super sweet. It's delicious. IMO. The fries in it are really good too. Even if you don't want chicken nuggets, the fries dipped in honey are really good.
Yeah, I could see that because I like, the Wendy's Frosty and French fries. Did I tell you that I found a Dairy Queen nearby?
Ooh.
Yeah. Like by nearby, 20 minutes, but there's a little town down by this trail I take my bike to right on the border of South Dakota. And I was coming out the back way of the trail and there's a Dairy Queen just sitting there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, how did you get here?
We have a Dairy Queen about 20 minutes away. They're sparsely populated around here. So if you want actual Dairy Queen, you have to go about 20 miles to Napoleon. But they have ice cream cake cupcakes there. So you can have ice cream cake whenever you want.
Wow.
That's amazing to me. That's the peak of civilization right there. We've made it.
That's like that meme of Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear looking at, he's gesturing to a car and he said, that is America's only known contribution to advanced civilization. He was talking about turning right on a red light, but we can also say
I would think that's ranch. Ranch dressing is the American, that's the contribution to the world.
That's what the World Cup visitors said. They're just like blown away by ranch. That really that is very like Britain coded ranches.
I follow this girl that she just kept showing up in my feed. I don't know if I actually follow her or not, but she shows up all the time. She's, I don't know, maybe 19, 20, 21, somewhere in that age range. And she's forever trying American snacks and she's British and she tried the ranch and absolutely loved it. So yeah, that's been my experience too. They love the ranch.
I mean, it is flavorful. And if you are into texture like that, you're going to love it. I saw a YouTube headline. I posted this on Facebook. It was like 3 a.m, but some zygote made a video and called it, I played Boomer Resident Evil games. Boomer? What do you think boomer means? Do you think boomers are 38 years old?
They're just old now. That's what it means. I've been called a boomer.
Yeah, boomer just means out of touch, which is interesting.
All of my parents were boomers.
Do you remember the roast of Ann Coulter? This is total. No. It's not entirely a topic shift. It was one of the original like Friars roast ones. I think it was on Comedy Central. But something, I actually don't know why I brought up the roast. This has nothing to do with it. So when people first started saying boomer, I guess it's just that Ann Coulter is largely an irredeemable piece of shit. But she did something one time that I was just like, what in the hell? Did that really come out of her mouth? So this was during the rise of OK Boomer, and the boomers were in their feelings about that being a diss. And somebody was on her show and they said, yeah, it's becoming a slur tantamount to the N-word. Which, first of all, it's not a slur. It's an insult. There's a difference, right? Just because something feels bad doesn't make it a slur. But she said, that is asinine, right? Like nothing is as bad as the N-word. Black people in America experienced Jim Crow, slavery, institutionalized racism, red line. She names off all of these things that of like institutionalized racism against Black people in America specifically, and just reads this man for filth on suggesting something so stupid. And I was like, I'm not going to read too much into it, but if you put a gun to my head and I had to eulogize her, that's the story I would tell, because it's the only decent thing to my knowledge she's ever done.
Yeah.
It was random.
Well, even a stopped clock is right twice a day.
Yeah. Truth. It's like Sean Strickland and his criticism of Trump and that. He's still a fucking homophobe and massive transphobe. Dang, did you see that shit about J.K. Rowling and Amnesty International?
No, I haven't seen that.
So Amnesty International published a report and used the phrase anti-rights to describe a handful of lobbying organizations or whatever that advocate to restrict rights for, like, it was really an accurate description. And one of them was the anti-trans movement, and maybe they even named her specifically. I didn't read their report. So she reached into her infinite bag of money and said, I'll cover the legal fees of anybody that wants to sue Amnesty International for calling transphobes, basically, and specifically transphobic lobbies anti-rights, which is incredible. So, like, just thousands of people sued them. And so they walked it back. Not only did they, like, walk it back, they apologized to her. Amnesty International. Like, we've got the Democrat candidates for in gubernatorial races and Senate races calling trans girls boys and refusing to sign agreements for including trans rights and things. Nobody's holding these folks to it anymore, and so they're just giving up. Because they've learned, because a person doesn't have to go whole hog and be like, okay, so Trump and his idiots are being rewarded for being the way they are, which means I can not be that bad and still be technically good. Like, we've lowered the bar.
Yeah, we absolutely have.
It reminds me, speaking of Chenga, when I first met her, I think Hungary has changed a lot in the amount of time since then, but at the time we were talking about voting, this was 2015, this was Trump's first thing or whatever, and we were discussing the third party problem. And she said something that it's still one of my favorite things I've ever heard, but repeating it still shocks me. Because she said, I vote Nazi party. And I was like, okay, walk me through that. And she said, well, voting is compulsory in Hungary. Like, you'll go to prison if you don't vote. And they're the leftists. The Nazis are the leftists. The other party is somehow worse. And I was like, oh God, I'm never again using the phrase lesser of two evils without really meaning it. I can't, what would that do to your brain?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, obviously she's used to it, but like, one of the most like progressive, sweetest, thoughtful people I've ever known is a registered Nazi.
That's wild.
Literal one, though, not like the ideological kind that we have in America. And I'm not saying that that's better. It's just that's what compulsory voting can turn into.
Yeah. Do you have to declare a party then, I guess?
That's a good question. I didn't clarify that, so maybe you don't.
Because I identify as independent for a reason. I don't want to be identified as either Republican or Democratic. So I stay independent.
And depending on where you live, that can have consequences too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Jenga's a listener now. I'm so sorry that I just outed you. When you get to this episode, you let me know if you're mad.
We love you.
We love you.
We're big
fans.
fans.
Come on the show and tell us stories. I mean, so often the things she said were mind-blowing to me. It's like, man, you really think you know how bad it can get because you're in a bad spot. And then somebody from Hungary tells you, you ain't heard nothing yet.
Yeah.
Let me get the wheel, what have you, up here. It always closes. Okay, let's see. Maybe I should recap what all the options are, because I don't think we've done that since we introduced it. We've had quite a few so far. So we have done movie review, book report, we did word game, we did social media. Wow, we've done all but one of them. We did joke thief, we did YouTube night, and now we've done anecdote. Should we just pick the last one, or should we?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the last one?
Show and tell. So what I had in mind for this, and it's open for discussion, was we can bring, each of us brings one or more of the weird items we've collected. I don't know.
I have the perfect item for this. Already picked out.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a lot of strange stuff too, and so there's some things we could do with it too. Like we can maybe try to play 20 questions with it, like try to guess what the hell it is or why you have it or something like that. Like maybe we present the item and ask the person to guess something about it. Like we ask a question. I don't know. That's half baked, or we can just do a little presentation about the item. But yeah, that'll be fun. I've got a lot of weird stuff. You've got a lot of weird stuff. You could do 2 truths and a lie about the item.
I don't know what my truths would be about this item.
Oh, now that's an interesting statement.
I'd have to think on that.
Yeah, we've got time.
Sure.
Sweet. Well, thanks for another week, everyone. Thanks for being friends with Queernecks. Thanks for listening to us ramble. For some reason, being interested in what we're doing here. Hope everybody has a good week. I'm sweaty. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.